Test one. Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
And I'm following you. So we've already done a bit of housekeeping. They already know that they're only speaking to you and to Caroline. And I'm always going to jack up your last name, and I'm so sorry.
Just Christian, no sin on the end.
Thank you. It's okay.
You're not the only one.
But
This
you
would
know,
happen so many times. We're used to it. But he was so funny. He was like, "We're all set. We're all set." And so then I looked at it, and the first thing I went, I was, "Oh, my name is Phil." He just
yeah.
goes, "How did I not? How did I miss that?" I was like, "It's just what it is."
Yeah. So, but yes, they all know that they're just going to direct the questions to you and to him, and that everybody else is just in the background and support. So we've already
Awesome.
had that conversation. They also know if they need any additional information, that they will reach out to me, and then I'll get that through you guys.
Excellent.
Okay?
That'll work just fine. Awesome. Awesome.
hope you all are doing well today. We are here to discuss, just to really just talk a little bit about the settlement agreement and to just answer some of your questions. We'll answer the best we can, some of the questions you may have about the agreement. But we, when I say we, I'm speaking of the Board of Education, the administration, and the United Teachers of Flint, have worked out an historical agreement that we are very proud of. We worked about 16 hours, and even prior to that, we have worked together for a while to come to where we are today. We're very happy with being able to present this settlement agreement to our board, and our board unanimously agreeing to this agreement that we have worked on. And then the teachers union in the same night got together, and 96%
96%.
of the teachers were in favor of this agreement. And so we're here today to just talk a little bit about our collaboration and some of the work that we are doing to move forward. So as you know, that agreement is set in stone. I've signed my name. Karen has signed her name. Our board president will be signing her name tonight, Dr. Joyce McNeil. And as you can see behind me, our board is here in support of our teachers union as well. And so at this time, Karen, if there's something you want to say, we can just turn it over to any questions that you all may have.
Just that it was, once getting back to the table, it was a very collaborative effort. There were lots of conversations, very frank conversations, to talk about what we can do to move this district forward together, which was our main focus, was making sure that we took care of our teachers, as well as how we can do what we need to do to help move the district forward in bringing in new teachers, in helping to recruit students, and in making sure that we keep this district viable.
Absolutely. And I will say this, we all understand that to do something as historic as this, it's going to take making sure that we are moving forward and right-sizing this district, making the proper decisions, as the board has discussed, about our properties and what does this look like in repurposing and the visioning that we're doing for Flint Community Schools. As you all know, we're currently renovating several schools. Actually, by the time we get to the new school year, we would have had 4 buildings renovated. That's Doyle Ryder, as some of you were at that opening. Brownell will be renovated. Holmes will be renovated, and Potter Elementary, which Karen works, will be renovated. We're doing this because we know that Flint Community Schools will serve Flint kids the best. And so they deserve new buildings, they deserve renovated buildings, and we're doing just that. We have allocated all of our ESSER funds toward this effort to ensure that we're doing what is best for our scholars. And ESSER 3, which is what's $99 million, have all been allocated, and most of that has been towards renovating our buildings, HVAC, roofing, new classroom furniture, painting, just the whole 9 yards for our scholars, and so we're excited about that. And so at this time, we'll take a few questions. If you have questions, we'll just point to you, and then we'll go from there. Dylan.
First one being, what are the differences between the first settlement agreement and the new one? And are the teachers fully restored? Or I guess sort of what are the details there?
Who you want? Who you want?
Well, both of you kind of.
Okay.
I guess Karen to start.
Sure. So one difference between the first settlement and the second one is traditional calendar will happen not next year, but the year after. So instead of going to a traditional calendar next year, will be one more year of balanced calendar, and then the year after that will be traditional calendar. With adding on 3 additional teacher workdays for that particular year to help with transitioning back to traditional calendar. So there'll be a extravaganza to have a enrollment fair, to let people see our new buildings, to let people see the differences that we've made over the year and a half of all the construction that's been going on. to make sure that the community sees what's been going on in our buildings, et cetera. In regards to teacher restoration, the majority of teachers will be restored to the step where they're supposed to be. The only ones that won't be will be the ones who are at the very top. They will get to the almost top step, and then according to our regular contract, this has nothing to do with the settlement agreement, but the regular contract, everybody next year takes a step, so that will put every single teacher as of the beginning of next year at the step where they are to be with relation to their experience in the Flint Community Schools.
And so with that, this takes the notion away that our teachers are not restored, right, or not made whole. And moving forward, our teachers are made whole. We've come to that agreement. They're going to be made whole by August 1st. They'll be made whole, and then we can move forward from that. It's important for everyone to understand that it takes a lot of work and effort and money to support a district, and our scholars deserve the best. They also deserve certified teachers and the best teachers in front of them. I have always stated that the best intervention that we have is our teachers, and we have to find a way with the state of Michigan to figure out how we're going to continue to fund our salaries as we move forward, because we need more teachers. And as scholars come back to us, we're going to need certified teachers in front of them. So we're still looking at ways to support the future of Flint as it pertains to staffing and salaries, and how we're going to ensure that we have new teachers coming in, because some of our teachers are going to be retiring soon. And so we need to make, what you smiling at? And so we need to make sure that, and through this, to answer you, through this, we're able to start teachers anywhere between step 1 and step 14. And so that's new. That is better for us to be able to start them at a level that's commensurate with their time as a teacher. So that's important as well. And as Karen mentioned, an enrollment extravaganza is going to be important for us, so that we all come together. We're thinking at Houston Stadium. We have a big enrollment campaign coming up in the summertime to invite previous scholars and new scholars into the district. And we're going to do this with all of our schools having a table, with having a few bounce houses and some things that will excite our families in the community. Our board has been fighting for things like this. Our board is concerned with making sure that we're doing things in the community to bring the community back. And so we're excited for the opportunity to do so. I think your hand was up, and then
I have actually a three-part question to my one part.
okay, we might have to re-ask. So
Right.
All right, on the question of the restoring the steps, does it mean that the agreement that was previously made is going to be carried out? And secondly, does that also mean that next year you'll be actually having 3 steps instead of 2? My second part is on the question of state funding. The ESSR emergency funding is going to be ending in September. This is creating a huge crisis throughout the entire country. I think I just saw an article report that Michigan is expecting to lose 5,000 teachers. How are you planning to deal with that?
thanks, good questions. So to talk a little bit to your first question, and then Karen, I'll give it over to you. But to talk a little to your first question, when you think about the contract that the teachers already have, there were already several steps in that contract. And when you talk about this agreement is a settlement agreement. The contract was not opened up. This was a settlement agreement. So there's a difference between their contract and then some T8 items that needed to be settled, okay? And so when you lump it together, I think that at the end of it all, you're saying, yes, there's going to be 3 steps, but those steps are within the contract. and the settlement agreement has made the teachers whole. And so it's a little bit different than the contract. It's from teachers that have been frozen. That now they have received monies, but they haven't received monies commensurate with their years of service in Flint Community Schools. And now we've done that with the settlement agreement. So I hope that helps that first part. But the second part is ESSER. When you talk about ESSER 3, we know that September 30th, all ESSER funds, it's over. If you don't have those funds allocated, there's some wiggle room for certain things, but they have to all be allocated. Flint Community Schools is completely allocated. ESSER, we did not use ESSER 3 for new hires. We didn't do that. We did that on purpose because if you hire someone through ESSER money, you're going to have to pick that up in your general account after ESSER is gone. We wanted to utilize ESSER for the restricted reasons that it's used for, which we wanted to use it for renovating. As you know, that Flint Community Schools has not had a new building of any sorts for since the early 70s or so. And so we wanted to renovate our schools. The board thought that the scholars that were in our district at this time and our administration, we believe that it's right to do right by the scholars we serve. And so we used ESSER 3 mostly to do renovations. And then we used it to supplant our wages, benefits, and legacy costs for staffing. So we used it, and yes, when it's gone, we're going to have to pick up whatever it is that's going to be coming at us forward from September 30th. How do we see that? I think that what we've done here in this historic settlement is we've placed ourselves in a position to compete with other districts as it pertains to teacher salaries. If you did any work around finding out where Flint Community Schools lands in the state, we are not far from competition. We are not in, it's about 500-600 school districts. We're somewhere around the 170, 180 area as it pertains to competing with our salaries. So when you look at that, that means that there is way more schools out there or districts out there that's paying less money to teachers. So I believe that in itself will help us to grow and help us to move into the future as it pertains to bringing in new staff.
Karen,
And then we'll go to Harold.
can you talk a little bit about the 4% that's rejected this when it comes from the union's perspective? Do you know why they said no to the settlement agreement?
No, we were not given an absolute answer as to why the original was turned down. So I can't give you an answer to that particular part of, anything, but once the explanation of how all of the numbers turned out made it so that people were able to understand it better. My personal feeling is I think that there was some confusion in the actual data to begin with. I think once we solidified numbers and we were all on the same page where numbers were, it made a big difference so that people could see everything. But to back up to your question that you asked a minute ago, it's not just like 1 or 2 or 3 steps. There are some people who have been frozen on step 2 for 10 years. So they get moved to where they are with their experience in the Flint schools. So those of us at the top would only get that additional 1 step for this year, but those that have been working their way through the pay scale who have been frozen over 10 years would actually move a whole lot more than those of us who have been at the top in order to keep our younger teachers who are moving through the scale to stay here. We don't want to lose them to districts that are offering more, and in this way these teachers are restored back to where they should be on the salary schedule, which honors them and their time in this district to keep them here and for them not to leave to go to other places. So some people may get 1 step, some people may get 2, but there are other people who are going to get more than just 1 or 2 steps.
Harold.
Superintendent Jones, you brought up the issue of buildings, and the number of buildings you have, of course, has an impact on your budget and your ability to pay your staff, including your teachers. You have been told by the state, by auditing firms, have twice the number of buildings that you need for your student population. That has to take a toll on a budget that is already stretched. It's been at least since 2017 that this district has closed a building. That's 7 going on 8 years. I wonder if you would comment about the need to right-size this district for the number of students that you have. When your staff is spread all over these 11 buildings, when they could be concentrated in fewer buildings, you'd have more financial resources to compensate them.
Thank you, Harold, for that question. The work has begun. We've begun the work as it pertains to coming up with a plan, a phased approach for repurposing buildings. And when we say repurpose, we choose to say repurpose because our community has had an outcry for not just closing these buildings and leaving them vacant. So when we talk about repurposing, we are talking about closing in the same breath. So I will say that the board has already started that process as it pertains to making a decision to close 4 buildings in 3 years. How that looks, we're still working on some of that process. We need to get a little bit more aggressive. The board has spoken to me about that, and we've spoken about what the repurposing will look like. There's some things on the table we can't really discuss at the moment that we're working on as it pertains to repurposing. But we're also looking at, Harold, we're also looking at the work around building a high school. Our issue that we're facing, yes, we have building issues, but we also need new enrollees to come back to Flint Community Schools. And I think that sometimes we're focusing on just the closures or the vacant properties when we also need to focus on enrollment campaigns and bringing in a new high school for our scholars, which we're working on right now. And if we can get our scholars to come back to us and be a part of Flint Community Schools, then that is a whole nother story of how the landscape for Flint Community Schools will look. But currently, right now, there is a plan in place. There is buildings that are already slated to be closed or to be repurposed, and we're in that process right now. It is important to do. It is important to do. We do not need to just keep properties for the sake of keeping properties. I don't think that is the direction of the board, to just keep properties. I know that they're not making any more land, and we are looking at that as well. What are we going to do with our land? We don't want to just give land out. We want to make sure it's repurposed in a way that is going to bring prosperity to this community and to take a lot of the pollution out of the community. And so it is a process, it is work, it's going to take some time, but I think that we have started that process, and the board has talked about that several times at the table and have made some very hard decisions as it pertains to closing neighborhood schools, and we're doing that now. Do you have a follow-up?
2 quick follow-ups.
And then we're going to come to you.
And that is, have you been too slow to the starting line for this? Because you've known for years and years what was happening with enrollment and that you needed to right-size the district. And I say you, plural, all of Flint school leaders. And the other one is, you speculate that that's part of the reason why Flint was passed over by the state of Michigan with a piece of December legislation that provided debt relief for 6 other school districts in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your last question first. No, I don't believe that it's the actions of the Board of Education or the actions of this district that caused us not to get any debt relief. I think there was specific rules to that and regulations to that debt relief. And your first question was?
Were you slow to begin
Thank
the
you.
process
Got it.
as a district?
Got it.
And I'm not talking just about Superintendent
I understand.
Jones. I'm talking about all of them.
I understand. I would say the district over the last 15 years has been slow to the draw in making decisions. And now that you have a board and a superintendent and the teachers union and others that are standing together to try to fix what has been broken over the years, we're all playing behind the 8 ball, right? It's all too slow. It's been too slow, but we have to make the right decisions while we have the opportunity. So I'm going to say, to answer you, it's been overdue for us to make the right decisions for Flint kids. But we also have to keep in mind that the fiscal responsibility of this district has been a roller coaster for many years. And the teachers wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't a roller coaster. So we're fixing what we can fix to do what's best for the community and the scholars we serve, and so it's going to take some time. Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping you could speak to the state funding issue and explain sort of how state funding has contributed to a lot of these issues from both the teacher's perspective and your perspective as superintendent. And what can the state do in terms of funding to help Flint?
So I think the first thing that happened was several years ago when the governor, before our governor that we have now, decided to cut state funding for all the school districts. And when that happened, it put a lot of school districts into deficit funding and into deficit spending because they didn't take into consideration what is needed in certain areas, especially when you have certain areas that have water crises and other issues that happen. More should have been attributed to this district, which it did not happen. At that particular moment, by the time he got into his 3rd year of being governor, all of a sudden there was a big thing, oh, we've given this great amount of money to all the public schools. No, you just gave back what you cut. You didn't give us more. We're still behind because you still didn't completely fund it back to where it was originally before you took all the money away. It caused a lot of inner city schools, a lot of inner city districts, a lot of urban districts, a lot of our children that are in Black and brown communities to not be able to have the funding that is needed to make the school districts run the way they need to run. What needs to happen, which has been happening over the last few years with Governor Whitmer, as we have been giving more and more money to state funding for students at each district level, and that needs to continue to happen, especially with those districts that have been hurt the most, in order to be able to get the funding back up so that there is funding to be able to have a well-rounded educational community in the schools that we're where we are. Did that help you?
Yeah, fine. You want me to speak to that? So I would say it's a lot that the state can do to support, but I would also, I'm going to speak to that, but then I'll also say Flint does receive grant funds. We receive over $20 million a year in different grants. However, those grants are restricted. Like I stated last week, we would not even have the conversation of how we're going to pay teachers, how we're going to pay principals or parapros or whoever, if I was able to use those funds in a way that 40%, maybe 40%, and I'm just throwing out numbers, those, 35%, 40% of their salaries, legacy costs can be paid through some of the state funding or the federal funding. Now, why is that key? It's key because those funds are restricted to support at-risk students, right? And so when you talk about the title funds, when you talk about 31A funds, those funds are for at-risk students. We are a district that we're full of at-risk students, right? God bless their heart, we love them, but we're 100% free and reduced. So when you talk about how can they help, the number one intervention is the teacher that's living and breathing in front of our scholars. So if those funds are for interventions, we're looking at an intervention, living and breathing, that can talk to the student, not a book, although she has all these books in her mind, but she can help. And I think that a good use of state funding would be to allow us to pay our staff through those funds. And hey, we're a traditional school, a public school. We're not in it for the money. We're in it to educate. We are Flint Community Schools. We're in it to educate scholars, right? So there's no privatization of anything that we receive. We're in it to help our scholars, all right? And so in order to do that, we need funding. We need more funding. Our scholars have suffered a lot, so have our teachers, so have our principals, so have our staff, and this board, and the boards before them. And I'm not saying that the folks that came before me in this board has done everything wrong, but I will say that through all of the changes that have taken place in Flint Community Schools over the last 10 to 15 years, you can't say things have worked in succinct and perfectly. And there's been holes. And so we're here joined together. And I can say all 7 board members work well with the superintendent to ensure that we're doing all we can to service Flint together. It's not always easy. We don't always agree. Me and Karen don't always agree. But we sure can sit down and eat some Jimmy John's and talk it through,
We can.
right? And the same thing with this Board of Education. We are now at a place that if we continue to work together, we can figure out what buildings need to be repurposed, what vacant properties need to be either sold off or leased off, or whatever the board is going to decide. We are at a place where we can do this work because there is no animosity going between what the administration and the board or the teachers union. We don't have to do this type of linear fighting. We can fight together to do what's best for students. I want to go with her and then I'll come back to you. Yes, ma'am.
So this process of getting to this settlement has been difficult and emotional. I'd like you to speak about what you hope this settlement agreement, what message it sends to the teachers.
Yes.
And Karen, if you could talk about the reaction and what message has been received.
So when you're going through something like this, you almost got me. You almost got a tear. You almost got a tear because it has been emotional. It's been emotional for myself, all 7 of these board members behind me. It's been emotional for my team. It's been emotional for the teachers. Everyone, principals had to deal with this. Scholars, families. It's been a roller coaster, but it's because we are not only thinking about right now, we're thinking about the future. And we don't want to be a district that is only thinking about one group, and we're only thinking about how this makes me look in the moment. Forget that. It's all about the scholars. And when we think about having a school for my children or your children to come to, or someone's grandchild to come to, I have to think about that the decisions that the superintendent and the board is making right now, is it going to help those that come after me, or is it going to make more work for them? And so I wanted to make sure that we came back to the table to think about how can we collaborate in a way that the district in itself gets more out of its teaching staff, gets more out of the district leaders, gets more out of the Board of Education. Everyone wins in this situation. And so going back to the table needed to happen so that we can collaborate and get more out of all of this for our scholars. So it's been a roller coaster, but I think that this was necessary in retrospect for us to be able to get to where we are today. And no, I didn't want our teachers to have to go through that, but it was great for us to hear our teachers. I think every board member behind me will agree that it was great hearing every comment that we heard from our teachers. It gave us an opportunity. Yes, I visit classrooms. Yes, the board members visit buildings, but it gave us an opportunity to hear the heart. And yes, we hear from Karen. Yes, we hear from Bruce, but we heard from teachers that we normally don't hear from. Teachers like Christy Gatz. It was important. Teachers like Heather Nassar, who text me, and teachers like LaShonda Warren, the teachers that came forward. We hear you. We heard you. And this board has heard you, and we were thankful that we were able to go back to the table. It took some work. It took some work. We were able to go back to the table. We had those moments where we said, oh, come on, man, we're close. We had those moments, but those moments matter, and those moments are important because we're thinking and we're trying to do what's best for our scholars.
So on the same note, it was a major roller coaster of emotions with the teachers and having different conversations with different. It took us a while to have conversations with them to tell them it's okay to tell your story. Because a lot of times we want to keep our trauma buried to ourselves and we don't want to share our trauma. But sharing trauma is the best way that we can work through a problem and actually get to a solution that works for everyone. So some of those teachers that came in and bared their stories here and told us everything about what was going on would never have done that before this moment, but they felt that this was the moment and the time was now, that it was important that their story be told. And after they were able to tell their stories, they felt like they were finally heard, which was a big thing. And we tell them all the time, Bruce and I talk all the time, but they need to hear from you. They can't just always hear just from me. And so getting them to the point where they felt comfortable to be able to share their story. And knowing that this administration is not an administration that if you tell my story, I'm going to be in your classroom the next day to give you a hard time. That's not how this administration runs. We've had administrations in the past that have run that way. This one does not. People actually took what teachers had to say to heart. They listened to their stories, understood the trauma that they have been through, as well as the trauma that their students have been through, and it made a difference to allow us to get back to the table to reach the collaboration that we did to get the settlement agreement that we all agreed with, what we thought would be the best for this district to move forward. So it was, and teachers are still moving through that trauma as they still continue to tell their stories and to reach out to us to let us know what they've been going through. So it was a good overall lesson to learn that we really need to make sure that we're hearing from our staff as well as community members as well as students, because sometimes our staff aren't willing to give their story. But I think we've opened that up now so that people will be more willing to share their trauma so that people can share in how can we help you.
And I would just add this piece to it. Sometimes, too, when you want to say something to a teacher and when you're in the midst of a settlement agreement or you're in the midst of some type of negotiation, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't talk about full details when you want to. Sometimes people will reach out to the board members and they want the board members to just tell them what they need to hear. We can't do that. We can't talk about things in the midst of negotiations. And sometimes people would say that that's not transparency. Well, I can't be transparent in the midst of negotiations about what's happening behind closed doors. It's not the right thing to do. We need to make sure that when we come back to everyone, we're giving them the right information. And sometimes we're going to have to take the hit as the administration, as the Board of Education, of what people are currently thinking about us. Because it's not true that the Board of Education or the administration does not care about teachers. It's never been true that the administration or the board were working separately. But we can't talk about all those details during some of these matters. And so when you don't see us responding, it doesn't mean that we don't care. It means that we have to find the right time, we have to work things out, and then we'll come back and we'll let everyone know where we are once things are settled with our teachers' union. Same thing with any other union. There's going to be times when we don't agree, and we may have folks come to the microphone to say what they need to say. The administration is not going to go tit for tat with any union because we want to do what's right and we all care. We're going to take maybe 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap this up because we do have a board meeting and a closed session coming up. So
Dylan, he was next.
I did tell Dylan. So after Dylan, there's going to be 2 more questions. So okay, one here. And then we'll do some final statements, and then we'll wrap that up. Dylan.
I just want to know if you feel that there's a level of trust that has to be rebuilt sort of after the settlement agreement saga is over with the teachers and the community.
So there's going to always be levels of trust. I think that the teachers union and the administration, we have a level of trust. I don't think that there is an issue when it comes to there's levels to things, right? There's things that you can trust when it comes to some of your scholars or some folks, and then there's things that you have to wait on, right? But I do think that we have a level of trust that we can work and move things forward. This collaboration and this tentative agreement didn't come without nail biting, but it came with collaboration. and the ability to know that when I sit down with Karen, when I sit down with Bruce, and when they sit down with our administration, we're all trying to do what's best at the end of the day. Whether we see it differently or not, we're all trying to do what's best in some way, shape, or form. So there is a level of trust there, but I think that there's levels to trust that I'm going to continue to try to build that trust with Karen, continue to build that trust with Bruce. But I think right now we can go get, a steak right now and be just fine and have a great time and not have to worry about the word trust. I think right now we can have the conversations about how we're moving into the future and really not have a concern of trust in that work. So I think that there's levels to trust. So that's my answer to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, even today, we had joint labor management, and there were a couple of issues that we didn't agree on, but it was okay because each side got their point across. And then from that point on, it's just like, let's make plans to figure out how we can work on this a little bit more. Trust, I don't think, is the issue. I think it's more along the issue of open communication was the biggest problem. I think we solved a lot of that through these 16 hours of negotiations.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Karen, you touched on this a little bit, but can you talk about just what the biggest benefits are, in your opinion, for teachers in this new agreement?
Sure. Our teachers will be restored, which is the big thing, which will allow this district to allow new teachers to come in at higher levels than where they were, which is what we need. We need newer teachers into the district. We've had several teachers in the past few years that have tried to come into the district, but because of the way the contract read, they had to be placed at step number 1, no matter what kind of experience they had, and they couldn't go past anyone who was frozen. So at this point, no one will be frozen anymore, so that they can hire teachers in at their level of experience. So if they have 3 years at a different district, they can come in here and be hired in at 3 or 4, depending upon if the district wants to give them the 3, and then this would be the 4. But it allows us, as the older teachers in the district, I'm going to say experienced teachers in the district, to be able to train some of the new teachers coming in so that we can give them our experience to be able to understand how to work in inner city schools and how to create those relationships with parents and with students, so that we make this district even better than what it is right now. That's part of the biggest part of it, is just making sure that our teachers were made whole, so that we didn't feel like the district would try to hire somebody in over someone who'd been frozen for so many years, which was the biggest concern that we had. So that's the biggest take from this. But being able to work collaboratively with the district in order to be able to do these days leading up to the moving into the traditional calendar, to make sure that we are part of the plan in bringing in students to this district is a big thing. Also in helping in recruiting. So our goal now is to hit the ground running and try to recruit teachers to our district along with students.
Actually,
Yes, sir. Last question.
Last answer actually maybe answered part of my question. It was about the fact that I think the number of teachers, that 40% of the teachers in some of the buildings were paraprofessionals. They were not full-time teachers. So how are we planning to deal with that?
Actually, in our schools, the classrooms that don't have certified teachers in them, they were guest teachers in our district. They were not paraprofessionals.
Correct.
Paraprofessionals are totally different classification. We have a guest teacher program that teachers have been working through a teacher program in order to work towards their certification. And so if they were a direct hire from the Flint schools, they were actually a guest teacher working through a teacher preparation program working towards certification. So some of them are actually working through getting ready to take their test, or have already taken their test and have, once they take the test and get their certification as a teacher, they then are directly hired as from the date of when they came into the teacher program, to allow them the years of service that they had for that. We don't have any paraprofessionals that are teachers in the classroom.
So we're also working with a program called Talent Together that the state has released funding for, where we are working to get, it's sort of like a grow your own program, where you are, if there's staff members that want to become teachers, to answer someone's earlier question, we do have a program that we're working on now with the state of Michigan called Talent Together, So if anyone is interested in becoming a teacher, that helps fund that. And so there is a road to certification that's out there for those that are either parapros or have, you may not have the certification, but you have the credits. This will help you get to that space. We need that. We're even trying to encourage some of our scholars that are seniors to go into education and trying to make ways for them to be able to come back to the district to serve. So I'm going to wrap this up with a final statement, and I want to say, I want to save, I guess, this for the last. Fiscal responsibility is most important to the Board of Education and this administration. And the Board of Education set aside $1.5 million to support this restoration. The $1.5 million have covered the restoration in itself. It's about 1.3, somewhere around $1.3 million. So it helps to just restore. But as you speak about how do we pay for things moving forward, you're not paying $1.3 million every year moving forward extra. What we're paying moving forward is the steps increases for our teachers, which if we continue to move in this plan to right-size the district, that will support that. Yes, we are working in a deficit. That's where we bring in the idea of the phased approach and excelling that process so that we can move that projected deficit down. We're going to need support from our state. We're going to need support from those that work for government to support us getting there. Flint Community Schools we will do our work. We're doing our work. The Board of Education is in workshops. We're in policy meetings. They're forming meetings so that we can talk about the phased approach and how we're going to tackle that. In the meantime, the administration is going to continue to work to figure out our organizational charting, meaning how we're paying staff. If there's possible ways to pay staff through grants, we're going to do that. But remember, we're going to do that responsibly, and those funds are restricted, so we only can do it in a certain way. We're looking at that now. The administration has scheduled 4-hour Friday meetings to only work on that work. And so we are busy doing that work. The board is busy doing their work. We're talking to policymakers to figure out how to get funding to Flint, and there is ways. They're talking to us. The state is not totally quiet. There's folks that have met with the superintendent that's trying to figure out ways to help. Yes, we need to speed up that process, and the board has met with folks in the state, and they're meeting with legislators outside the state to try to figure out how to bring in funding. We can't always talk about those things and tell everyone everything that we're doing, because most times people think that transparency is putting the cart, they want you to put the cart before the horse. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. I'm going to try to work things out with the Board of Education and those that are policymakers, and then we'll let folks know what's going on. I can't put ourselves in a situation to where our young people get put on a back burner because we're putting out information before it's been approved. And I want to make sure that that's clear to everyone, that the superintendent and this Board of Education, we can't just be out here talking. We can't just be out here saying what's going to happen. We can demand, we can talk about what's necessary for Flint kids, but we have to do it in a way that is appropriate and professional, and we're using that word trust. We have trust, and we're using trust to move Flint forward. So that's our plan. That's what we're doing. We have an approach. We have a plan. We have a strategic plan, and we're working that plan. So we thank you for your time. I want to say again to our teachers union and our Board of Education, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time. Every single one of the teachers that sat here and came and gave their time to talk to us, to talk to the Board of Education, thank you. And for those that did not come, we still heard you and we still hear you. For the parents that worked with us throughout this process, for the scholars that wanted to know what was going on and how you're going to fix it. Well, we have fixed it, and we're thankful for the opportunity to continue to serve Flint. And I would like to thank every board member that sit behind me, that took the shots, that took all of the phone calls. When you couldn't say anything, you tried to do your very best to console and help our teachers through this process. So thank you. And lastly, I would like to say thank you to this administrative team for all your hard work and the efforts that you put in to ensure that our numbers were correct and we move things forward. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. If you all want to get a picture with the Board of Education and our UTF leaders, if the board doesn't mind. Okay, we can just stand up and get a picture together. We could. Actually, we can come back there.
You want us to go back there?
recommended for us to do. I can get started, right?
Yeah.
Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education special board meeting to order at 6:21 p.m. Board members, I call your name. Please reply by present. Treasurer Luna,
Present.
Trustee King,
Present.
Trustee Relaford,
Here.
Vice President Clack,
Present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre,
Present.
Secretary Perkins,
Present.
myself, President Mike Mills, 7 yes. The board will not hear comments from the public. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. We ask that you state the reason for addressing the board and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes on matter within the authority of the board and not address individuals by name. Please state your name and address before beginning to speak. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to address the board? Please come forth.
Good evening, Board. Felicia Neymark, in-person, direct hire speech-language pathologist, Durant Martin Early Childhood Programs. First of all, I'd like to start off saying thank you. I've been up here many times requesting some help and requesting your input on the agreement to come to a settlement with us, and so I would like to say thank you. I figure if I've been loud on the opposite situation, I should come and tell you my appreciation on behalf of, now I don't speak for all the staff, but I know all my coworkers that I've spoken with are very appreciative. Secondly, I know there were some comments made at the last meeting about the ACLU settlement. And while I know you probably can't discuss specifics yet, as a provider of speech-language services to our early childhood special needs population, and some of the outlying early childhood programs that we also service, and doing evaluations on hundreds of students every year, preschoolers that could come into our program. And in speaking with our early childhood special education teachers that we have that are direct hires of the district, our concerns are how is this going to affect us, what is happening with those jobs, and what will happen. In my case, is it going to take some of the load off of the district directly? Is it going to add more work to us? How is this going to impact our early childhood special education classrooms and our ancillary support staff, our speech-language pathologists, social workers, school psychologists, et cetera, that work with these children that are district employees or contracted through third party? So I just wanted to express concerns that our staff is having on that and have expressed to me after hearing the comments at the board meeting last week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. Are there any more comments from the public? Seeing there's no comments, we will move on to our next agenda. At this time, I seek a motion and second from the board to meet in closed session under the Mission Open Act 81H.
So moved.
It has been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion? Board member, I ask that we leave our electronic devices out of the closed door session. That's part of the Open Meetings Act. Seeing no further discussion, the motion to meet in closed session will be conducted by a roll call vote. Board members, as I call your name, say yes or no. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre?
Yes.
Vice President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
Trustee Relaford? Trustee Luna?
Yes.
Myself, President McNeil, yes. 7 yes. Board member, we are now to meet in closed session. Please go into the room behind our table.
I would like to call the special board committee meeting back to order. The time is 7:16 p.m. Seeing that there is no further discussion for the special board meeting, this part of the meeting is adjourned at 7:17. Good evening. I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Committee as a whole meeting to order at 7:17 p.m. Board members, as I call your name, please say present for the records. Treasurer Luna.
Present.
Trustee King. Present. Trustee Rutherford.
Here.
Vice President Clack.
Present.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre.
Present.
Secretary Perkins.
Present.
Myself, President Mike Neal. Present, 7 present. The board will now hear comments from the public. The presiding officer of the board shall have the right to limit the number of persons who may address the board on the same subject. We ask that you state your name and your reason for addressing the board, and that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Remember to say your name and your address first. Is there anybody who would like to address the board for public comments? Please come forward.
Well, good evening, Board.
Good evening.
My name is Ian Shetron, and it's a pleasure to address you today. 7525 River Road, Flushing. For those I had the privilege to speak with in the past, hello again, and for those I'm meeting for the first time, it's great to make your acquaintance. You may recall our previous engagement a couple of years ago when my development group initiated discussions regarding a potential redevelopment and preservation of Flint Central High School and Whittier Classical Academy. Now, at the time, my group had just concluded an economic study on Central as part of a course at Harvard University. I'm thrilled to report that my progress towards my master's degree is nearly complete, and I'm excited to already be back home working for a Flint-based company. However, my purpose here today is to reignite that conversation surrounding the future of Central Whittier. Given the recent attention garnered by a compelling documentary shining a spotlight on Central, there's a unique opportunity to revisit this topic. And I understand there are many pressing issues facing the board, but I firmly believe addressing the Central Whittier issue now presents a real opportunity for the district, leveraging our resources and expertise. Our team stands ready to collaborate with Flint schools, offering our skills, research, and commitment to serve as your development partner in reactivating the Central Whittier campus. We eagerly anticipate the chance to recommence these discussions. Moreover, we're prepared to commence a comprehensive engineering survey of the property's buildings, assessing the feasibility of the redevelopment, all at no cost to the district. Through collaborative efforts, we have the potential to deliver immense benefits to the community. By revitalizing the campus, we can make this property drive value for the district, help revitalize Flint schools, and benefit scholars and staff, while simultaneously fostering meaningful economic growth. Understand, this is not merely about bricks and mortar. It's about investing in our shared future and creating a thriving environment where students, families, and residents can flourish. I sincerely appreciate your attention and consideration, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak from the public?
To the presiding officer, my name is Reverend Freelon Threlkel Jr. I live at 214 East Pulaski. I just dropped by tonight because I heard you all were meeting and have been meeting for many years, and I just thought I'd come out to encourage the board to work hard together so that the educational system, the Flint public school system, can come back to let it like it used to be. Now, a lot of folks say It's a new day, Reverend. Yesterday is gone. But I believe I'm a product of the Flint Public School System, Parkland School, Emerson, Whittier. Just heard a gentleman talk about my alumni, Flint Central. I'm an Indian, once an Indian, you're always an Indian. But I just come by to encourage each and every one of you. I'm praying for you that you consider Flint school system and put your best foot forward and collaborate and work for us to become a better school system. I'm a preacher, teacher. Transformation. The scriptures say, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by getting a better job? No. By hitting a lottery? No. But by the transformation of your mind. We need to educate our people. These young children running around here, the reason a kindergarten cuss out the teacher is because the parents cuss them out. We have to change the mindset of the thinking of our people, and that's through education. Now, there's many forms of education. Just because you have a degree on the wall and you act like a fool on the floor, I see that downtown all the time. But it's time for us to come together. We have a great opportunity. So I just dropped by to say I'm praying for you. And I pray that you come together, disagree without becoming disagreeable. And I believe Flint will be the greatest Flint public school system like it used to be. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Jeanette Edwards from Brownell Holmes Neighborhood Association, and I'm going to ask my block club to stand up. Just a little of us. Will y'all stand up?
I'm gonna stand up too, because
we're
we're
part
all
of it.
part of this.
We behind y'all 100% when it comes to Brownell Homes, because it's just beautiful. I pass it every day. We watching, we making sure that nobody is breaking windows or doing anything in there. It's one thing I want to ask. When y'all get finished with these schools in the cube, we can't wait for the cube, that 2 years down the line, y'all say, Brownell Homes can't meet in there no more. Because people have came into our neighborhood, promised us things, did things, used our opinion, and they gone, and we stuck. So I'm asking this board to give us a guarantee that we're not going to get kicked out, because we're going to be there until the Lord call us. So we're going to be behind y'all. We done surveys, we go to meetings.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And we try to do everything. And we want to help y'all with the children. But when we have a principal that say, y'all have to volunteer in the lunchroom, that's disheartened. So we stop volunteering at that school. We don't want to do that. We want to help the teachers. We want to help the principals, anybody that walk in that school. We all don't mind getting fingerprinted, bonded. None of us got felonies or none of that. Give us the opportunity to help y'all. And when we have problems, we're going to call y'all. Every one of y'all. I have y'all on speed dial. And we will call. Because they going to call me and wake me up in the middle of the night. When y'all want us to help y'all, let us help y'all. We cannot wait till y'all finish. In the front of Holmes, I was shouting. I did the holy dance when I seen the front of Holmes. I fussed at the superintendent because I said, you know, I got about 4 calls saying they had a walkthrough at Holmes and nobody told us. So I told him, I said, you supposed to, you gonna have a walkthrough and you ain't gonna have us. And many surveys we went out and collected, and I found out that it was canceled. So I'm sorry, I was upset with you. But those are the kind of things we do. So God bless y'all. Keep on fighting. Keep on doing what y'all can do. Make those teachers teach our kids, them all of our kids. Thank you. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. Are there any more comments from the public? Seeing none. You know, we can't, if it's on the agenda. If it's on the agenda. No. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it'd be appropriate.
Can I make a response?
Yes, you can.
So I would just like to, we don't normally respond, but because we're about to go into a presentation about some of this work, you might want to stick around. Those of you who are not able to make all of the meetings, you will see some pictures of some of the work that's being done to the neighborhood group. We certainly appreciate you being here. We know you had a meeting here at 5:30, and heard y'all ate too, so where the rest of that food at? But thank you for being here. Thank you. I know you have other things to do, but this group board, they meet with our Clark team, our administration, and they also meet with those at the architect team on a regular basis with the center. The center has been supporting this work, and the foundation who granted us the $14 million. So Ms. Edwards and a few of her team members have been at every meeting to support this work, to move this work forward, and I just think that deserves a round of applause for their hard work. So we appreciate that. And Ms. Edwards, this is, you know, to the group, this is a pilot that the district is looking to move forward in all of our neighborhood groups, to have this type of union and collaboration with our neighborhoods to keep our schools safe for our scholars. So we certainly thank you for the time and effort that you put in. And you're right, we are all on your speed dial, and we appreciate your calls and your efforts that you have put forward to help Flint Community Schools become the best district in our nation, and we are on our way. So thank you for your supports, and thank you, Board President, for the opportunity to
You're
speak.
more than welcome. Thank you. At this time, we will have a presentation and an update for the Holmes and Brownell Project by Clark Construction. Please join us to the stage.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for inviting us here to show the progress of where we're at currently with the work at specifically Brownell Holmes, but also Potter as well. So to get started, so this is a photo just from the Doyle Ryder project earlier on. This is kind of rendering. So no students were actually in this photo. That is a photoshopped. Yeah. All right, so this is the front of Holmes STEM Academy. You can see in the photo the new entrance, the new doors, the whole new storefront, no security grate, anything on the building. That's one of the things that we had talked about previously at a board meeting. So moving on, the photo on the left is before photo of the cafeteria, and then looking down a corridor at Holmes. And then the photo to the right is afterwards. It's a little further down the hall, but it's the same corridor. You can see the new ceilings, the lights, just how bright it is. I mean, yeah, the sun's coming in, but new flooring, all that in there. You can see one of the unit ventilators that's in the ceiling that heats that space. The next photo is, this is a classroom, so the photo on the left was just, it was during the demo process, but that's kind of how the rooms were. The photos on the right are actually taken a couple days ago in the room. So this is Brownell students that have been moved in there. That is currently one of the classrooms set up, so you can see how brighter the rooms are. The unit ventilators up in the corner that provides the heating and cooling for that room. So every classroom has heating and cooling. So during the entire school year, you'll always have
Comfortable temperature.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir.
Can I pause you for a moment? So I just want to make sure that the board, and I know you know this, but Brownell has been closed for renovations, and those scholars are now in Holmes, in one of the wings in Holmes. And so the team has prepared Holmes. It is, we have a permit to be in the space, and we passed the state inspection so that our scholars can be in Holmes. So, and also too, when you look at this furniture, I know that's a pretty nice looking picture, but that is not the new furniture. There's still new furniture coming to these classrooms, and the furniture will be here sometime in July. I'll just say that, right?
Correct.
But before we get that key for August 1st, that furniture will be installed in these rooms. So I'll stop you here.
No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jones. So that's one of the classrooms at Holmes. This is the new office. So the photo on the left is the actual secured vestibule area. So the photo is taken outside of that, but that's when visitors, people come into the building, that's how they enter into the building. And then further in the background is the entrance into the office. So the photo to the right is the new front desk. So that's. Go ahead. Go.
Hey, let me commentate some of this.
Go ahead.
So when you walk into the building, remember when you walked into Holmes, you walk straight into an open building, right? So now, if you look to this glass, this little square area, that's where parents come in and any guests come in. They have to go through this double door area, then to the office before they can even get into where our scholars are. When scholars come in, they won't go through those doors. They'll go through these doors right here in the morning. Parents can't come through that way. The parents have to go through the glass area, the vestibule area there. Okay? All right, just want to make it clear.
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to the additional security measure that's inside the foyer?
Yes, so inside there is a weapons detection system that people have to pass through. That will be within that area, yes. There's also a security desk that will be in there where the security advocate will process visitors. So when people come, before they even can get in the office, they're clearing a level of security to get into the building. Then they're clearing a level of security to get from the secure vestibule into the office. And all of those doors are controlled, so it's not free access once you get in there. They're still locked, and you have to be buzzed in and out in order to get into the space.
Also, there's hardened measures on the glass. There's a 3M film on all the glass, so you can't, as it is not bullet resistant, it will not shatter. You have to chop through it, basically. So that's the whole process of buying that time frame. You know, so that's an additional measure. Having the office outbound versus inbound. Oh, sorry. So we did move the office from an interior location to an exterior wall. This allows the administrative assistants, the principal, to see a line of sight to the parking lot, so hopefully you can lock the building down before something happens. That's kind of the thought process and the enhanced security measures that all districts across the state have been doing. So it just kind of gives everyone a better line of sight to the parking lot, you kind of start to see problems before they even come up to your building. So also there's lockdown buttons in the office when we're all said and done. So really there will be a lot of controls there so they can see everything that's going on. Sorry.
You're good.
No, back to Dan.
Thank you. All right, so moving on. Okay. All right, this here is over at Potter Elementary School. So the photo there you're seeing is the silver in the windows. That is the security grates that used to be there. Well, they're still there now. We just started that wing, but that's when we were talking a couple months ago about security grates. That's what was currently at Potter. So now the next photo is actually, this is the wing we just finished. That is what the finished product will be. New metal panels, brand new windows, clear. I mean, the visibility in there is, the natural light is just fantastic.
And also it improves your ability to heat the building and cool the building, because that whole wall structure is now fully insulated with spray foam, and it's no longer just an open, 1970s window. So ultimately, the building will be cheaper to run for the district.
So moving on to the next one. So this was a classroom at Potter, the one on the left. So that was the old casework. You can kind of see some of the flooring. Then the photo on the right is new casework, new ceilings, new lights, the unit ventilator for heating and cooling in that space as well. Yes, sir.
I want to add the picture on the left, and we could have got a picture of the ceiling. That was horrible work. And the picture on the left, 'cause we had walked the building, and we was able to see like the little fan up at the top, the hang down lights, versus the one on the after side. You have beautiful lights. You don't have an open ceiling. You have a closed ceiling there, and the HVAC on the side. I do want to make sure that is highlighted, because walking in the Potter and seeing just ceiling fans does no justice.
Is the other side of Potter completely demoed?
Just about, yes.
Do you have any ceiling pictures?
We do, we do.
Okay, all right.
So we are in the process of getting all the photos to get to you for record keeping. So there'll be some in there that.
Thank you.
So that's classroom there at Potter. The next photo, so this is the auditorium project that we started last summer. So the pictures on the left were right after demo. So you can see we replaced the entire roof because the Tectum decking, the roof was just horrible. In fact, it leaked. There was no lights. It was, you can see the old mechanical system that's in there. The photos on the right are the new finished product. You got theatrical lighting. There's a control center in the back of back by those two doors in the top photo for audio and lighting controls. New seating, sound panels on the walls, ceilings, new lighting, linear diffusers, complete theater.
So
Madam
I do, go ahead.
You can go first, bud.
I just wanted to let the public know that this echo that you hear, that sound deafening is going to stop that echo. So even when you're not here and you're watching at home, you can hear us clearly when we speak. So that's what a lot of that stuff is. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I guess, just to recap it, this is a fully operational, state-of-the-art auditorium that you can have anything you want there. Full mixing board in the back. It's a really nice space for the future.
Quick question, Madam Chair, if I may. Not pictured in these really great slides of all the investments you've made into our buildings is some of the cost savings when it comes to like the boilers that are sometimes 40, 50 years old, and just all the stuff that we don't see that's in the walls and in the boiler room. Could you talk about that and also the cost savings we realize?
Yeah, I mean, like as Holmes' example, we took out two 1960s, 1967-ish boilers that ran. When those were put in, energy was really cheap, so they were on or off. They're either full throttle or not. So now you have what's called a hot water system where you can modulate it up and down. So it's basically like you're not running your full all the time. It's giving you what you need at the time. So every other district in the state is moving this direction, and we've been moving that direction for years, and we've just now been able to give Flint that. So it will save you in operations over the next 30 years.
And those are in each of these buildings.
Yes.
I just wanted the public to know that too. It's not just this. Each of the buildings are getting new boiler systems. Did you have pictures of those?
No, typically no one wants to see those rooms.
Yeah, I got pictures of them. I'll show
Yeah. We can come back and show some more pictures for
I
sure.
can show you all kinds of infrastructure.
I will say it took them probably about 2 weeks to cut those out. So the demo contractor had a really good time in there, but ultimately they're all there and they're working now. What else you got?
Okay, so moving on. Oop.
Nope.
So this is just a snapshot of where we're at in time. So this is 5 months into this project for these 3 schools. We currently have $18.6 million work in place, so we're a little over 50% complete. So that's just a snapshot of where we're at currently, as through the end of March. 5 months.
Yeah,
This
so
is
it's
5 months in.
5 months in,
So-
we're at 18.6, so we're moving. We've hit our first mark. We've got the kids moved over. They're occupying, and now we're full throttle on Brownell and the rest of Holmes and the rest of Potter.
So moving on, the cube.
What's
So
next?
That's what's coming next over at the Brownell Holmes campus. So this is a photo, the middle is actually the cube, it's architectural rendering of what it potentially is gonna look like. And the next,
Wait. On the right, if you see the mass on the right, that's Brownell, and that's also the new early childhood portion of that building, that front fascia. And then obviously on the left is Holmes Middle School.
so this is Holmes. So this is where the existing canopy that goes out towards Oxley, this is in that area, that's going away. And this little window wall is what they're proposing to lead up to the cube. And then you'll see in the next photo, which is Brownell, how you get the cube and then over into the Brownell facility. So the cube,
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Go ahead.
You're about, okay. So if you can see down here to the right, you can see the cube over here. And then this is Oxley Drive. So right there in the front of the building, the facade, there's a new facade all along that front, okay?
so then the next one is Brownell. So this is Brownell, this is early childhood entrance into that wing of the school. So that is all new facade, and it carries out the rest of the way down that side, and then it turns to the back, because we got a new street that's going back through there for parking and student drop-off and traffic circulation for the school and for the cube.
And there's also a connection that you can't see on the back side that will connect Brownell to the cube so that the little kids don't have to go outside when they walk over the community center. So that's something you can't see from the side, but it is in there.
Quick question, okay, I'm on Oxley now. Is that where the parking lot was? So that parking lot's gonna be removed?
Yeah.
No, this photo right here, this is standing out on Oxley. So
You on Oxley?
We're on Oxley, yes.
So I'm on Oxley.
You're looking to the east. That photo is looking towards the east, towards the,
I think I know what you're
I'm looking this way.
There is a parking lot sitting there currently.
Right.
That cube will take a piece of it.
Okay.
And then what you don't see on this is the new parking lot on the other side, new drive for student parking, for
Okay.
teacher parking.
Okay.
There's also early childhood playground, big one planned. There's also a large, let's say K through 5 playground planned. There's new basketball courts for Holmes. There's a new track out back. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. Site improvements across.
Okay.
Then that center where the cube gets a big turnaround, that's where the buses will end up living for those buildings.
So that parking lot between Holmes and Brownell, that's what we're talking, that's going away?
Some of it is.
Some
but
of it, so a portion of it. So, okay, so the canopy at Holmes now, all the way up to Oxley, that's gonna be utilized, like all that green space? Say
will become green, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so all that's gonna be used up for building?
No,
No? What is it gonna be?
grass, green
Just
space.
grass?
Yeah, we're taking,
Soft, green
those
space.
two, those two canopies right there.
Yes?
Go back.
Let me go back
Talking
to,
about
let me go
that
back to
right there.
So
that one.
I think that
Go back.
some of the thought process is trying to tie these 3 together. You don't want to, the brand new glass building sitting there, they wanted to tie some pieces of it to make it all feel like the same campus, right? So that's why we put there's that piece in front it's an open concept. It's just a glass wall, so they can go out and sit out there, have lunch, they could do projects out there. But it's more or less to get all that to look unified as a campus.
Okay, so you
Just
building
by-
up, you going up
Just a
with the
little-
cube?
It's just a straight wall up.
Okay.
If you go back to it.
And just by chance, do you have that overall mapping document?
They didn't sign it. We didn't get it.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna send it to them so they can see that, and maybe we can show that in our next presentation, so they can see the overall. But you see green grass here, But what you will see here is parking,
Okay.
right? So the early childhood, and then when we thought about our Flint neighborhood group and said, well, they more mature, they don't need to be walking from the back. They need to be able to park and come right into the cube area, even though they're gonna have to walk in on the other side. We did put parking up here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so just wanna make sure you know that.
I think there's 17 spaces up front, and I want to say there's like 146 in the back. The balance, so there's a balance, that we have more parking than what we currently have moving forward. And there's also a thought process of separating bus traffic from the parent traffic, and just help, and then also with the front entry, you now have a separate parking lot for the early childhood program. So it kind of allows everyone to kind of stay separate, once again, safety outside, with traffic.
So, one more question. So the early childhood traffic is on the south side of Brownell. Is that, I think I remember seeing that. Is that correct, where it goes around the back?
That's the main, the actual, there's a parking lot right in front of yeah, they're gonna put one right there. There's about 17 spaces for the early childhood.
But I thought, why did I think the kids, the early childhood?
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, help
No,
me
I was
out.
just gonna say, I think what you're saying on the south side of Brownell, there is a connection that goes back, all the way back to the back side of, that's where the staff, so teacher parking is, and then you loop around, and you come up just on the back side of the cube. That's where the student drop-off is for parents. Where the bus you see in that photo is, that's the bus drop-off, will be on that side.
That's for the big kids. That one's the big.
No, that's the
Oh, that's the
drop-off.
little kids?
Right, for the little kids. All of Holmes drop-off will be on the north side of Holmes in that parking lot. that we
Gotcha.
just
Okay, thank you.
So that's concludes our presentation.
Yes.
So if you have any more questions or. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board President, if I may. So there was a question, and I want to address it because I think it's important. There was a skywalk from Holmes over to the cube, but we wanted to make the cube a couple thousand feet larger. So we sacrificed the skywalk so the cube itself can be bigger.
Okay.
All right, so we sacrificed that, and you're going to see that the cube is bigger, correct?
It's like, yes, it
Yes.
was like 1,200 square feet difference.
Yeah.
When we got, and it also took out an elevator we didn't need, and another piece of equipment that was like $100,000.
So we wanted to make sure that the space in the cube was bigger for not only having more scholars to be able to come in there, but any of our community groups. We needed space for storage in there as well. There is an office for our Flint neighborhood group that's going to be there. It's a part of the proposal. It was a part of the board's vote. So the Flint neighborhood group office is going to be there, and it's their office. So just want to speak to that.
Is there an elevator in it?
There is an elevator in the cube.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's great.
No, she does. No, the neighborhood group does not have to worry about being put out of that building. However, if the board decides to vote for something like that to make it even more shored up, then that's something that we can do.
Could I add to that, to the last part, Mr. Jones? I was just brainstorming. I think it would be in our best interest to create like a resolution to make sure we designate that space for community use, as in specifying neighborhood association meetings, what CUBE is for, right? So that going forward, right, like not just Brownell Holmes, but the other neighborhood associations around there can meet there, whether it's I forgot the senior center that's right there next to it, like down a little ways. They can come there and meet, come there and meet, right? But we designate that space. So you had a board resolution saying this space is designated for community use, i.e. neighborhood association meetings going forward. So, we having that space designated.
Sounds good to me. We can get to that. Okay, great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Great job. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you. I now turn the floor over to Trustee King for the Human Resources Committee of the whole portion of the agenda.
All righty. I would like to call the Human Resources Committee, the whole meeting to order. I'll now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Yes, board. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 1.6 Personnel Recommendation to the regular board meeting, April 17th, 2024, for adoption.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Moved by Assistant Secretary McIntyre and Secretary Perkins supported. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion, the motion is to move Resolution 1.6 to the regular meeting next week. All righty, roll call vote. Treasurer Luna,
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford,
Yes.
Vice President Clark, President McNeil,
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre,
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
Myself, Trustee King, yes. Motion passes 6 yes, 0 no. Thank you, Superintendent Jones. Seeing no further business, I declare HR Cal adjourned. I turn the floor over to Treasurer Luna.
All right, good evening. At this moment, I now call the Finance and Operations Subcommittee, Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 7:51 p.m. I now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 11.22, approval of Microsoft license renewals, to the regular meeting on April 17th for adoption.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I make a motion to batch 11.22 through 11.26.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Trustee King and supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there any discussion on the batching? All right, seeing none, as I call your name, please say yes or no to approve the batched motion. Trustee Rutherford.
Yes.
Trustee King.
Yes.
Vice President Clack.
I'll abstain because I was not here.
That's fine. President McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna. The motion passes with 6 yes and 1 abstention.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the batched items.
Support.
All right, the motion to approve the batch items has been moved by Trustee King and supported by Secretary Perkins. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
First, Trustee Rutherford, then Trustee McIntyre.
I don't have a problem approving it, but I would like for some typos to take place as it relates to 11.25. Is it industrial demolition service or is it gross construction?
Mr. Jones, do you want to address that?
So page 17. Is it, they paying them or they paying them?
Approval of storm sewer investigation
Yeah.
between Brownell and Holmes
The company
schools.
name.
The
The
company
company
name?
name says industrial demolition service.
Services.
All right. Are you good, Ms. Trustee Rutherford, on that, or you have further questions?
No, I just want to make sure, I just wanted to bring that out to make sure that
Okay.
that's addressed. I knew it was just a typo, that's why I said that.
All right, are you satisfied?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Trustee McIntyre?
I just had a couple of clarifying questions. So for the approval of the Microsoft license renewals, why is it not to exceed $35,426? Is it not a fixed amount?
The licenses, is my understanding that they can be brought in just a little under, so as not to exceed contract amount.
So
On this one?
it's possible that it could be lower?
Yes, ma'am. It
Than
cannot
that?
be higher.
It cannot be higher, it could possibly be lower. What needs to be done in order to get it lower? It's just a,
It's basically, it comes down to a negotiation with them and see if they can actually do it at a lower price. They had mentioned it, so we put it in as a not to exceed price on that, for that one license, for the licenses, sorry.
I guess I'm confused. Since this is coming from the general fund, like, why can't we ensure that it's at a lower price? I mean, why,
Don't fall.
I mean, if that's up for debate, why, I mean, I don't understand this variable pricing.
I'd have to go back to them and talk to them directly to get more information from the IT group to determine that.
If I may. Trustee
Sure.
McIntyre. So the motion is to approve the batch items to the next regular meeting next Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
So maybe between now and then, we could work to get you an answer. Oh, it's tonight? Oh, it's tonight, okay. My
Wait, to
apologies.
approve everything tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah, we approve that.
my apologies, so it's approved tonight. But just to kind of further answer your question, from my own perspective, sometimes that not to exceed actually is a safe gap to prevent it to go over, and it gives our team the opportunity to negotiate a better deal. That's a very common, I guess,
Yeah.
practice. But
Yeah.
that's just my perspective.
Yep. Okay, and then I had a question about the storm sewer investigation. So this is coming, it says the cost will come directly from the general funds under the Mott Foundation grant. So is it general funds or what? I'm not, how is it being funded?
It's being funded from the Mott Foundation, but it's under my understanding that that has been moved into our general fund, so that's why I related it as general fund / Mott Foundation.
So is the Mott Foundation grant like discretionary, and this is what we're deciding to spend it on? Like, so that if we got a grant and it's in the general fund, and then we can, or is it specifically for,
This is specifically for the Cube project, and it's
Okay.
just under the Mott Foundation funding. And I'm not sure if it's blended into general fund, or is it strictly just, so
no,
I put
that
it.
was just my ignorance. I was trying to just make sure and just keep track of stuff. So thank you. I get it now.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And that was all the questions I had. I just had
Thank you.
about the funds. Thank
Were
you.
there any more questions or comments from the board?
I'm sorry, I did have one.
Go ahead.
I had like 3 of them. Excuse me, I'm looking at 11.26. With, was it Bennigan's? They pulled out, and so you have a list of who's in second, an ongoing list? Explain that to me.
So the original contractor was Benning Contracting, and we
Oh, it's Benning,
approved
so I
that,
know where
and they
McKinley's
wound up pulling out of the process after we had awarded them a contract.
Mhm.
So we went to Troon Law, and the next designated lowest bidder was Hock Painting. And the difference was $41.86, if I remember the number correct off the top of my head.
Mhm.
And so the Benning Painting had to pay for that differential, and then this allows us to enter into contract with Hock Painting now.
So do we have the background on Hawks Painting? Who they
Yes,
are?
ma'am.
Hawk, huh?
Hock?
Hock.
Yes.
Where they from? Where
I'd
they
have to
based?
look it up.
Oh, okay. All right, I just saw that, the difference, I'm sorry.
Clark's gonna look it up, because
Oh.
they're still here in the audience.
Okay, it's not pertinent to hold up anything. No, just, it's not often that I see us receiving money back. So that kind of sparked my interest, like, whoa, I see $4,000 coming back. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions or comments? I'll make one brief comment on item 11.24, which is the McKinley portable unit demolition. I just want to make a point to the public that, similar to Washington, we're demolishing blight on our properties, and unfortunately, that's less money in the classroom. So we're addressing the issue, but I would just say to our partners in the community, whether it be the city of Flint, the county, the Johnson County Land Bank, partners at the local, federal, and state level, also in philanthropy, we're addressing this issue, but we need collaboration to really do it. I mean, our district at one point had over 45,000 students, now we're down to 3. And as we address these properties, we board up buildings time and time again, it's costing us a lot of money that otherwise could have been spent in the classroom, so I want to make that point. That being said, seeing no further comments or questions from the board, the motion was to approve the batch items tonight. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve. Trustee Rutherford.
Yes?
Trustee King.
Yes.
Vice President Clack.
Yes.
President McNeil.
Yes.
Trustee McIntyre.
Yes.
Secretary Perkins.
Yes.
And myself, Treasurer Luna. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Henderson, and thank you, Shanda.
Thanks, Ms. Cleves.
Sorry, Mrs. Cleese, I was like, I always forget. Mrs. Cleaves. All right. Seeing no further business, I declare the Finance and Operations Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned at 8 o'clock p.m. I now turn the floor over to the Board President for the Board Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Trustee Luna. I would like to call the Board Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.15, approval to purchase radios, to the regular board meeting on April 17, 2024.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve 21.15.
Support.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
have a question
Yes.
about it. If I'm not mistaken, it says it'll be pulled from a grant, and I just want us to be specific into what grant is pulling from.
That's not on here.
It's
Okay.
on the executive
It's-
summary, if I'm right.
Which one is it? Is it 90, 97? 97, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Yeah, 97, our safety grant,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And this would be, Mr. Jones, this would be used for just district-wide or just for a certain?
This is district-wide.
District-wide, okay.
Yes.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Stewart is here if you have any other questions for the radios or our next resolution.
Thank you.
I do have, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Yes. Proceed.
Hi, Mr. Stewart. How you doing? Hello. This is my first time seeing you this year.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
These radios, are they gonna be in a classroom or just in the hallway? Security go have them, or their parents go have them? Who's gonna have these radios?
So the radios are for safety advocates and administration in the building.
Okay.
In those classrooms where we don't have like a PA system, we do try to provide those teachers with a radio in case we have to go into a lockdown or something like that.
Okay. Would these be battery operated?
Yes, they are battery where you charge them overnight,
Mm-hmm.
and then we use them the next day, so they will charge overnight.
Will they be assigned to individual? Everybody will have their own radio to where they're, same radio every day, would their name be on it? Will it
Correct.
be-
Every safety advocate has will have their own radio. The principal have their radios. We try, every time we get a grant where we can purchase radios, we try to purchase radios so we can have an inventory of radios in case some are broken or stolen or damaged or anything like that. So
Okay.
that would help us out by purchasing these radios.
Okay, so will these have tracking devices on them in case they happen to walk out the district?
No, they won't have tracking devices on them.
Well, I guess my rationale for that is if someone is supposed to be at a certain place, I think a GPS would be good.
Yes, I understand what you're
Okay.
saying. Our biggest issue with the radios is that when you have a third party, sometimes when we have high turnover, sometimes people don't return the radios.
My point
So
exactly.
and so we've had conversation with Teach Out, and we actually have a contract with them as to if they don't return our radios, then they will, actually purchase a radio for their staff, not returning them.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat back what I thought I heard you say. So with the high turnover rate, if we don't get our radio back, then they'll reimburse us with a new
Yes.
one that's in the
Yes.
contract?
Yes.
Okay, and this is coming out of what fund?
I believe it's 97, because 97 is 97C, 97D, and 97. So I believe it's 97.
So what's the difference between 97D, A, B, and 31A?
Well,
Aren't they all security?
Well, 31A is an at-risk grant, which you can pay for security, and we pay for our security services, which is we pay Teach Out through our 31A. This
Okay.
grant was a security grant where you can purchase items to enhance the security of your buildings.
Okay,
And so that's the grant that I'm using to purchase the radios.
okay, question. Do we have anything in place far as, no, this could wait. This could be
Okay.
off record. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank you.
Okay. You can start. Got another one. Okay.
Seeing no further question, discussion, the motion to move Resolution 21, 2015, approval to purchase radio to the regular meeting for adoption. It will be conducted by roll call, yes or no. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
Assistant Secretary Treasurer McIntyre?
Yes.
Vice President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Myself, President McNeil, 7 yes. Mr. Jones?
Yes, ma'am. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 21.16, Schools of Choice Plan, Section 105 and 105C to the regular board meeting on April 17, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
It's been properly moved and it's second.
Madam
Is there
Chair.
any questions or discussions? Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
with schools of choice, with schools of choice, that means students can choose and come, they don't have to stay in our district.
Correct.
So what was the purpose of doing the boundary?
So the purpose of doing the boundary, those are inter-district boundaries, so we can assign each of our students to one of our buildings within our district. The school of choice is that's a state program, statewide program. So what Schools of Choice 105 is that we can accept students from other districts, Beecher, Davidson, wherever, just other districts. And that's what and every year we have to have a board resolution and submit to the ISD the timeframes that we're going to accept students from other districts, which is from May 1st to, I believe it's August 9th. So during that time period, we will accept applications for schools of choice from other districts, which means that those students don't have to get a release from their residential district. And so we can just accept them based on, we can determine if we want to accept them based on their discipline history. And so we have to do this every year. Every district has to do this because that information has to be submitted to the ISD, and then ISD posts it so parents can go to their website to see when districts have their window open for schools of choice.
Okay, I don't want you to think, I'm confused, because a boundary to me means you're in this boundary, so you have to attend this school, but we're part of the schools of choice.
Okay.
You understand my confusion?
Got it.
Okay.
So here we go. The city of Flint has a boundary for the city of Flint. Okay? So the boundaries that we brought to you was the boundaries within the city of Flint that would assign our kids to each individual school. So you got two boundaries. You got the inter-district boundaries, and then you have the actual city boundary. So the city boundary is what schools of choice is referring to.
Okay, so our kids got to go to school in boundary, but the city can go wherever they want to go, but our kids got to go to certain schools.
Our kids have to go to certain schools, but they can request a transfer permit if they want to go to a school.
So that means they got to get a release?
No.
No.
Because that's an inter-district thing.
But somebody from outside the district can come to Flint schools if they stayed in, say, Fenton.
If they stay in.
Fenton.
Yes.
Now you see where I have a problem?
Yeah.
You telling me I have to go to X school, but then somebody from Zilwaukee can come and go to Flint schools, but you're telling me I can only go to this school because I live in this area, but it's open to people that live anywhere to come to go to school here. Do you understand where I'm at?
I hear what you're saying,
okay.
But when you look at every school district, right? Every school district, if they have, let's say, multiple elementary buildings. Each elementary building has a boundary that those kids are required to go to. But then they can still accept students from outside the district boundary through schools of choice, right? So it used to be, basically, you had the boundary because we were neighborhood schools. Every neighborhood had a school that those kids were assigned to attend. All right, and it's just that now that we've closed so many buildings, those boundaries have expanded. But yes, within the district, you are required to go to a school within your residential boundary. If you don't want to go to that school, you can ask for a transfer permit, and then just like the schools of choice, we would look at your attendance and your behavior and determine whether we will allow you to go to that school.
So if I stayed in, okay, just so I want to make sure I'm understanding you, because I'm
okay.
still a little confused. So if I stay in Pierce, I can go and get a release from Pierce to go to Potter.
If you stay in Pierce, right, you can come to the central office, and say, I want my child to attend Potter.
Potter,
Right?
okay, fair.
And so then what we would do is the same process. We would look at the student's discipline and the student's attendance before making that decision. Because you don't want to send a kid who lives in Pierce and has 50 or 60 absences all the way over to Potter. Because here you would get a bus. When you go over to Potter, you are responsible for your own transportation.
Okay,
So-
so we're in schools of choice, so that parent could take that kid someplace else.
The parent, yes, all of our kids' parents, right now, when schools of choice is open, all of our kids' parents have the option to go on the website and look at the school district, and if they're accepting schools of choice, they can apply.
Basically, I'm saying there really is no boundary.
Well, no, there are boundaries.
They're not adhered to.
Well, there are
I
boundaries.
mean, I'm saying because you can give me permission, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, if it's schools of choice, that means you can go wherever. Or is that not accurate? That's just sound good.
So schools of choice, you can go to another district that's within the same ISD if that district accepts you.
Oh, in GISD.
County.
Right, in the county.
County, okay, I'm done, I'm good.
Okay.
Anything else I can come talk to you about?
Trustee
Thank you.
McDaniel.
So, question, Mr. Stewart, how much do you project that this is gonna grow the district? Was that something that you
How much is gonna,
grow the enrollment?
well, we honestly, we don't get a lot of people on schools of choice coming to our district.
Right, but
It's mostly a lot of our kids going to other
out.
districts.
So this is
going out.
almost like a reversal of what happened in, what, 94? That gave us the ability to go out of the district. Now we're accepting students from outside of the district back in here. If you could get your student here from Zilwaukee, then you can come here and you are open to go to a Flint school. But while you're in a Flint school, then you have to attend that school that you're designated to unless you have a waiver.
Correct.
Right, okay. So this technically can grow the
This can
enrollment.
technically grow our district
There you
if
go.
we, basically, yes, if parents from other schools said, hey, they're doing renovations to homes and everybody want to bring their kids from other districts to our schools, then boom, my office will be flooded with applications and we have to review them and we can accept those kids. Yes, that's the purpose of schools of choice.
That's what we want, not to flood your
Right.
office with more work.
Right.
I'm
So-
done.
Trustee King? Everybody pass. You pass? Oh, trustee McIntyre.
So we don't do schools of choice for outside of the ISD? Is that what the second one is?
Correct.
Why not?
Because with the Schools of Choice 105C, you have to have an agreement with the district, and then that can become a cost to the district. Okay?
Okay.
All right? Got it? Okay.
Everybody good? No
Yep.
more further discussion? We will accept resolution 21.16 by roll call, call, yes or no. Secretary Perkins? Yes. Assistant Secretary Trajan McIntyre?
Yes.
Vice President Clark?
Yes.
Trustee King? Yes. Trustee Rutherford?
Yes.
Trustee Lohner?
Yes.
And myself, President McNeil, yes, 7 yes. At this time, I'd like
Thank
to
you, Mr. Stewart.
turn the floor over to Trustee McIntyre for the Academic Committee of the Whole portion of the agenda.
Okay, call to order. I would like to call the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I will now call upon Superintendent Jones to present action to the board.
Thank you. I seek a motion and a second from the board to move Resolution 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from the Consolidated Application Title III, Part A, to the regular board meeting on April 17, 2024 for adoption.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move that we approve this item.
Now support.
You support?
Support?
I thought Claudia did, but,
Okay.
Say support, Miss.
no, you said it before
You said it
he
before
made
his
the
motion.
motion.
Support.
There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got it.
I know it's a long night.
Okay, it has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Vice President Clack?
I'm thinking, let me, okay, yeah. I thought that was- So, can you help me read this?
What are you trying to read?
Well, okay,
Could I add something while you?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
I didn't want to
trustee.
hold up the
Okay.
meeting, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hi,
okay,
Ms.
all right.
I'm
Trustee
sorry.
King?
So sorry, I'm looking at Ms. McNeil. Ms. Fields, so understanding this is basically instructions for our second language scholars?
Yes, and these are also previously approved. We're just asking for the approval to now spend, but these were previously approved in the consolidated app.
Okay, and this, I was looking at the entails of everything, so this just basically provides things just for our second language.
Supplement English language learners, yes, sir.
Supplemental materials?
Yes, sir.
And, okay, I see conferences and all that good stuff in there to make sure that we keeping up with what's going on. Right.
Absolutely, these are to support WIDA testing, to support additional language learners as far as like PDing our interpreters that help and support our young people in instruction.
You said WIDA, I don't know that acronym. Yeah.
That's one of the tests that our young people take in order to be able to monitor their baseline data of where they're at and
Okay.
where they grow to in their English
Baseline
language
test.
learning.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Is there any more discussion? Mr. Clack, or Vice President Clack?
No, I think I know what I was looking at because this has already been approved, correct, Mrs. Fields?
Yes, sir, it has been.
Yeah, I had to remember it. What threw me off was I saw the 3 nights in the hotel, and I'm like, but I understand what I'm looking at now.
Yes, sir.
I apologize for it.
Yes.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the motion to move Resolution 25.2, authorization to purchase approved items from the consolidated application, Title III, Part A, to the regular meeting for adoption will be conducted by a roll call vote. As I call your name, please say yes or no to approve this motion. Secretary Perkins?
Yes.
President McNeil?
Yes.
Vice President Clack?
Yes.
Trustee Relaford?
Yes.
Treasurer Luna?
Yes.
Trustee King?
Yes.
And myself, Trustee McIntyre, yes. Motion passes by a vote of 7-0. Thank you, Superintendent Jones. Seeing no further business, I declare the Academics Committee of the Whole meeting adjourned. I now turn the floor back over to President McNeil. Time of adjournment is 8:19, or is it 18? Okay.
Thank you. Do any board members have any comments before we adjourn? Vice President Clark.
I just want to say, I'm so proud of this board.
Thank you.
I really am. Like, we ain't perfect, but we work.
We get in
I
there.
really want to. I want to say. I want to say how proud I am of how the superintendent and the negotiating team handled the teachers' negotiation. Not so much looking forward to future negotiations, but I know it's got to happen. But I just want to say, I'm proud of us. We're getting a lot of work done. And I learned a lot this past week. And again, I just want to say, stress the fact that I'm proud of us. That's it.
Thank you. Any more comments?
Yes, I concur, Vice President Clack. The teachers have been made whole. I mean, I can't stress that. I am just, it's been a long time coming, and I do want to reiterate that it is not enough. They definitely deserve more. They deserve further dignity, but I'm glad this is a step in the right direction, because I've just been despairing about the teacher situation, you know, since the freeze, and it's been absolutely unconscionable that it's been like this for so long. I pushed hard to raise the insurance hard caps. I'm glad that we've at least gotten to that point. I look forward to further working with funding formulas, because we have been systematically underfunded on purpose to undermine public education, to undermine teachers, to undermine school boards, to undermine public schools. And I really see this as a positive step forward for us to all come together to really demand what our kids deserve, what our communities deserve. I think President Christensen stated it quite eloquently when she said, you know, our funding had been stripped from us, and when we were given back a small piece of the pie, we were expected to jump up and down and applaud and be thankful about it. But honestly, you know, it's destroying not only our community, but our society. So I'm glad to see, you know, this collaboration with the teachers, with the board, with the executive team, Superintendent Jones. I'm really proud of the board for the hard work that they did at the conference in New Orleans. I look forward to reporting back and to taking a lot of that work that we did and you know, moving forward. We can't, there's no rest. There's no rest, that is for sure. It's like as soon as you achieve one thing, it's on to the next thing, and on to the next thing we go. So thank you teachers, thank you UTF, thank you everybody, thank you board, and yeah, we're not perfect, but we are moving forward. So thank you everybody.
Madam President. Good to go? I wanted to speak for.
Oh, okay. I thought, no. Oh, go ahead.
You want to? You can go.
No, you can
Okay.
go, then I go after
Yeah,
you.
I've been beating a dead horse about this, but I want to make the point that this board in particular, together with the administration and the union support and them being at the table, we've not only invested in the environments in which our teachers, staff, and students work and learn. When I say invest, I mean it. We've invested in the learning spaces. We've invested in the systems that are 50, 60 years old that are wasting money, and these new ones will save us money and will last longer. We're investing in our students. But not only that, we're not just investing in where they learn and where they teach at. We're investing in our teachers now with this new agreement. But my point is this. I really want to emphasize the fact that if one of the most impoverished districts and communities can do this with our resources, which are very limited, I want to see our partners in government, philanthropy, and private industry join us at the table to help us finish the work we started so that we can make a transformational change for our students, their families, and their futures.
Thank you. Thank you. I would kind of like to say, the conference in New Orleans had a lot of good information, and I think we as a board, we should come back. I had an idea that the board as a whole, that we put on a presentation what we learned that could help us move the district forward. There was a lot of good information, and I spoke to a couple of colleagues about it, that maybe someone would like to take that initiative, and we just put together a presentation where we talk to each other what we learned and how that would help us move the district forward, if anybody, because as part of the requirement that we do this. And I know you guys got a lot of good stuff. I got a whole lot of stuff, and I just want to hear what everybody had as we make decisions going forward to what the district looked like. So if anybody want to take that initiative and start it off, Well, anybody, you pointing yourself, that'll be fine. And maybe we just do a board as a whole and present, if you got copies of the stuff that they had, the agenda, please share it and discuss it, because I want to hear what we can do. We're on a good road now, and I think the Cube and the NSBA did a great job this time. This is one of the best one I went to, is helping us financially and getting a lot of things done. So, yeah, so whenever we get some time, I would love to see that happen. Trustee Rutherford?
Betsy, I'm sorry. The gentleman talked about the development of Whittier and Central. I wasn't familiar. Does anyone have his information? Who is he and who is he representing? Anyone have that? Huh?
We can run it back and
Okay.
get it, but I thought that was pretty good as well.
I do want to share that during one of the sessions, it dealt with debating with dignity. And it's, you guys may have heard me reference a 7. And it deals with numbers, and it allows you to see how you're speaking to colleagues and individuals. And it transformed over 500, it was, I don't know how many people was in that auditorium, but once the gentleman completed his presentation, probably 80% of everyone went looking for that index card. And that index card holds you accountable for your conversation. And I happened to sit beside Superintendent Jones, and we actually discussed it, and it was as if everyone in that room had the same idea. We're gonna take it back. And I would definitely, I took it personal. I'm going to utilize that. You will hear me reference numbers. It ranges from 1 to 8. 8 is perfect. No one will ever be an 8. I don't care what they say. But 7 is very, very doable. But it allows you to hear what someone else is saying instead of responding. And then also, if you happen to respond out of emotion, give yourself the grace to correct it. So I just ask this board to definitely pay attention to that. And I think it would help with the students, because I actually practice it with a little kid. You're acting like a 1. That sounds better than, calling them out of their name. Well, you're being a 4. It just makes difference, and I think that would be definitely a good conversation, and it'll create a very, very healthy culture here in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll add, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, sure.
I would quickly say that I'm proud of our board for the collectiveness that we able to show as a whole. As we attended the conference, when I tell you it is important, and I'm glad that we are attending conferences to change the narrative of Flint Community Schools, because when you let somebody know you from Flint Community Schools, they bring up the past. They bring up, what all happened. They say, oh, what happened? No, we're doing just fine. And we've been being great, ambassadors of change on this board, and just helping shift and changing the narrative. Just meeting people from different states, even our own state. People in our state that's not our neighbors don't know what's going on, what we're doing, and just being able to educate them, show them the strides that we're making is helping change the narrative of Flint Community Schools and our community as a whole. So our presence matter in all spaces, I would say, because you have people that are some how can I put it? They are in positions to help, right? But all you hearing is the negative. And we are the best champions to talk about the good things that we're doing. So I would say we are changing the narrative as we go out, and even learning those great things. For example, the employee appreciation, employee wellness is what I attended. I love the Dignity Index. I have those cards. Even myself trying to work on what number I'm into, because sometimes I do want to go to 1. But I still, I try to be cautious in the words, so I try to rise up that little scale. But there's a lot of things that we learned, I personally learned it and taken advantage of. So when we talk about electrification, I'll be trying to champion electrification, because I believe if our Flint Community Schools could grab upon that and build greater things on that, Flint Community Schools could be right, in my opinion.
Great job.
Thanks.
Any more comments?
Superintendent Jones?
You good? I think we all tired. We all had a very long week. The Board of Education will hold its regular board meeting on Wednesday, April the 17th at 6:30. Seeing no further business, the board declare this board meeting adjourned at 8:30, perfect timing. So, Mr. Clark, you gonna work on that project?
We should have a workshop and just talk about.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
We have a
You guys
workshop.
wanna put it together?